Srinavati Tamastu Madhvishapahaihi. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So in the last class, we were looking at the interplay between Jnanam and Brahma. And Brahma is a karya, which is an effect of Ajnana. So we saw that. In this new topic, number 10, if you're counting, there is a further elaboration of the type of Brahma. So this is called with Upadhi or without Upadhi. Right? You know what Upadhi is. We've already looked, we know the definition of that. But we know what Brahma is. Now we can combine them to see, to understand some viveka between what is called Nirupadhika Brahma and Sopadhika Brahma. With Upadhi and not without Upadhi. So let's look at that. So now, if we look at the example that we've already seen, which is a Brahma of taking a Rajju to be a Sarpa, a rope to be a snake. This is a kind of a Brahma, right? Because that Brahma, oh my God, this is a dangerous snake, especially inside the home. This is a Brahma. And it was interesting, this example of rope and snake is very appropriate in India, where we really, because in the West you don't see, I'm told by the way that in Hawaii there is not a single snake.
Really?
Yeah, it's very, I read that somewhere. But in India it's just the opposite. Especially where we were growing up in Bihar, near Dhanbad, where my father was a mining manager. We were living in the middle of a forest, as I was telling you. Oh my God. There were snakes inside the home. The home is open and so on and so forth. And they have some very, so we were taught even as youngsters to distinguish between venomous snakes and non-venomous snakes. And we all know that cobra is a very venomous snake. I don't think we had cobra inside the home or around it. I saw that in near Coimbatore one time in the ashram. We saw a cobra. But before that I had not seen a cobra in our own home. But you know what? There is a snake called, I don't know what the technical name of it is, but in India it's called chitti snake. So this chitti snake is like the width of your finger, and it's about 2 feet, and it is whitish in color. It is just as venomous as cobra. Very difficult to survive. And you hear of deaths and so on. And so one time we found it on the sofa. I remember that. But I think that our people would be, my mother, father, and all the domestic help, they were aware of that. So they just immediately got him. I have a lot of snake stories that I want to bother you with. So the snake analogy with the rope is a very appropriate one, because the ignorance of the rope, because of the experiences that people have had, creates a fear that gets magnified. And if it's not corrected, you can just say, oh my gosh, there's a snake inside the house. However, so this is a Brahma. However, once the Ajnanam is removed by seeing that this is not a snake, this is just a harmless rope, you know what happens? The snake appearance disappears completely. You can't even say, oh my God, how did I see that? You can even rub your eyes or something, you won't come. It's just gone. This is an example of Nirupadika Brahma. Nirupadika Brahma means that the Brahma did not have an upadhi. He was a pure Brahma, just born out of your own mind and fear, but had really no real upadhi with it. And so when the Brahma is removed, upadhi also gets removed. Okay? Now let's take an example of the other kind of upadhi. It's called Sopadika Brahma. This is a very important example. Sopadika Brahma. So, in this case, consider a youngster, 3 or 4 years old, out in the bright, broad sunlight. And you take that child out and say, baby, what is the color of the sky? And she or he will say blue. So you say, wonderful, good. All my teachings about what is blue, what is green have worked. That is right, correct. This is not true. Akasha does not have a blue nature. Swami Akhandananda says, you cannot distill that blueness and make your clothes blue. There is no substantiveness in the blueness of the sky. Now, if the same child grows up, you could at some point explain to the child, listen, the sky itself is not blue, it appears to be blue. And there will be a long period where the child will say, I don't know the distinction between sky, space is not, this is colorless. And then the appearance, and I don't know, I'm just calling it blue. But an adult will know. It's a very interesting thing, really. Where does the blueness come from? Where is it? Can I touch it? Swami Akhandananda gives one very beautiful example of a rainbow. He says, what a beautiful thing, what a creation. But where is it? Can you chase a rainbow and touch it? You cannot. It just comes as a flash and disappears. So now, if you are in a state of adulthood, which is totally convinced that the blueness doesn't reside in the space. It's not a property of space. See, the space has certain properties. It does have certain properties. It is not considered in Vedanta. This is one of the things that the West discovers this and they say, we did it. We have known it for thousands of years. We have known that the space contains a lot of very important material. It wasn't until and I also didn't quite understand how How can space looks like there's nothingness. It's not true. Space is the mother of all the Pancha Mahabhutas. That's a separate discussion, but I'll give you a little taste of it. And interestingly enough, it wasn't until I started reading the biography of Albert Einstein by this guy. What's his name? The one who also did it for Steve Jobs.
Walter
Isaacson. Beautiful book. If you ever have a chance to please read it. I was fascinated by. Usually, I don't have a chance to read a lot of books. Either I will read some historical books or scientific books, and I don't read a lot. But this one I did read, going on a plane or somewhere, about Einstein. And in that book, and even otherwise in some television program, what was the name of it? Carl Sagan. He had some very nice television programs. He explained what this space really looks like. So what he said was the following. He said, look, suppose you have a flat billiard table. What's it called? It's called, in the West, it's not called billiard. Pool table. You have a flat pool table. And you roll a ball on the pool table. What will happen is they'll be just going straight to it. No, there won't be curvature or nothing. Now take a trampoline. And in the trampoline, you roll a heavy ball. What will happen is that the trampoline, okay, so let's even more. So let's say that in the trampoline, you take a heavy ball and you put it in the middle of the trampoline so that it is curved. Okay, it's not flat like the pool table. Now you roll some balls. You know what will happen? The ball will try to go straight, but it can't. Why? Because it is attracted to the curvature of the heavy ball, and it goes around it perhaps a little bit, depends on the velocity, but then it drops down into it. You see, this is what space is. It is not a pool table, it is a trampoline. How? So what will happen is that if there is a heavy body like Earth, and there is something that is going past it, the gravitational force, which is part of the nature of the trampoline. That's exactly the trampoline nature of Akasha is the gravitational force of the. And so when something comes down, it cannot escape it. It is so heavy, the gravitational force, that it goes around it and then merges into it. Beautiful. I tell you, then I could understand what Akasha is. Akasha is also where the sound is. All the sound is in Akasha. All the electromagnetic waves are. Where are they? They are not in air. They are not in water. They are not in fire. They are not on the earth. They are in Akasha. The Akasha is a very important thing. It is not just a background thing with nothing in it. No, absolutely not. So now we know that Akasha is colorless. But as an adult, if you find that you still see the blueness in the sky, you know that this is false, even though it is appearing to you. This is an example of Sopadika Brahma. Sopadika Brahma. How, as a child, the Brahma is that the sky is really blue. And an adult, the elimination of the Brahma is the sky is not blue, even though it looks blue. So the blueness is an upadhi. This is a very important example. Because eventually, at some point or the other, when our doubts are removed, we will see that even though the world looks real, it is like Sopadika Brahma. It's like the blueness of the sky. And when we become spiritually adult, we will see this very clearly. And this is given again and again with Ishvara's creation of dreams and Jagrata Avastha. In both cases, there is an appearance. And in the case of, we can see this, in the case of a dream, it is Nirupadika Brahma. Nirupadika Brahma. In the case of the Jagrata Avastha for a Jnani, it becomes Sopadika Brahma. You see the distinction? That from the standpoint of a Jnani, even though it is there, like even though blueness is there, a Jnani knows it is just an appearance. And just like an adult knows that the blueness is just an appearance, there's no reality to it. You cannot distill it, you cannot wash clothes in it. The blueness is just an appearance. There is no vastuta. So this is, I think, a very, very key. So these are the kind of things that we must understand as masala. What is the masala? These are all the ingredients for knowledge. And if we don't know this, then we don't make much progress. So the distillation of these masalas, of these, individual pieces is very crucial. And I don't see people presenting this. It should be done. So there's an attempt on my part to kind of distill them into one place and then put it together, as we will see. All right, so that topic is now finished. Let's go to the next topic, number 11. And this is a topic of what is the these are different ways of looking at knowledge. One way of looking at the knowledge is direct and remote knowledge. Direct knowledge and remote knowledge. This is just an English translation, but really in Sanskrit you will see three kinds of jnana. Pratyaksha jnana, paroksha jnana, and aparoksha jnana. Pratyaksha, paroksha, and aparoksha. What are these three? So, if you see something right in front of you, like you are seeing me and I'm seeing you, that knowledge is with the help of your sense organs. Your eyes, the sound, so the rupam, and etc. You ascertain, yes, this is the room with the following people sitting. This is pratyaksha jnana, right in front of you, direct. Then there is aparoksha jnana. Aparoksha jnana means there are things being done, cooked right now in the main kitchen, and there is food being prepared. You don't see it at this point, not in front of your eyes. You can't say, because I don't see it, it's not there. No. Even if you don't see it, it is there. And with the aid of memory, anumanam, previous pratyaksham. So anumanam means inference. But pratyaksha is the mother of all other knowledges. Aparoksha is separate, but between pratyaksha and paroksha, there is a very interesting relationship. Because paroksha depends upon previous pratyaksha. Because you cannot say that there is a kitchen unless you know there is a kitchen, you have seen it. You could not say that. So, this is the relationship between pratyaksha and paroksha. Okay. Now, are you ready for some heavy lifting? All right. Listen to this. First of all, let me just do it in a couple of stages. Who are you? Are you pratyaksha? You appear to be pratyaksha because you can see your own body as long as the other bodies. But I'm not talking about the body, because the body is also a drishya. You, the seer, is not pratyaksha. Is it paroksha?
No.
It cannot be paroksha. It is sada paroksha. We will come to that a little bit later on. So it's not paroksha, it is not pratyaksha. It is called aparoksha. Beautiful word. Beautiful. It means you could even say apratyaksha, possibly apratyaksha. I'm not sure about that, but let's say it is called aparoksha. Means it is not pratyaksha. You don't. So just look at this. You don't decide your presence after looking at through your eyes. See, this is very important. For other things, your decision point is your sense organs. Hey, did you see that person? Yes, I saw that person. How? How could you say that? Because I saw the person. What are you talking about? I saw it with my own eyes. You can't say that, you cannot apply the same logic to yourself. You cannot say, I saw myself, therefore I am. This does not apply. You are independent of it. In fact, you know what happens? This is the thing. You are, therefore everything else is. This is the direction we are going. You might as well get used to this. This is the primacy of the Atma. You cannot have anything until you are. You cannot have pratyaksha. You cannot have paroksha. You cannot have paroksha either. Paroksha is a thought. You cannot have a thought until you are there. So the aparoksha, kind of like, what we were talking about, the fact that I know that I don't know Nepalese. I know what I know what I don't know, I know. This is exactly like this. Whether it is pratyaksha, whether it is paroksha, both pratyaksha and paroksha are dependent on the aparoksha. Okay, good so far. Now let's go further. This is heavy stuff. Where is Ishvara? Is he pratyaksha? Definitely not. One thing I know for sure, he is not pratyaksha. Therefore, he must be paroksha. If he is not pratyaksha, he must be paroksha. Now, there are several problems by us taking this view that Ishvara is paroksha. One problem is that all paroksha thoughts depend on previous pratyaksha. You cannot imagine something like the kitchen until you know there is kitchen. But you've never seen Ishvara. The only thing you can say is that it falls under the category of not here. I don't know where, but not in front of me. Now, when will Ishvara be? That means, is he permanently paroksha? Because you look at your entire life and you say, one day I will find Ishvara. Really? Yeah. How will you find Ishvara? How will he appear? How will you know Ishvara? As pratyaksha? Absolutely not, because pratyaksha has lots of problems. One problem is pratyaksha depends on you. Another problem is the pratyaksha is mithya. As Gita also said, we just went through the definition of this. Vyakta madhyani, nidanani eva. Once it was not there, then it is there. It is an appearance. It's like the blueness of the sky. If you go outside, this is a very interesting thing. Somebody then used to say that. He says, I wonder how Ishvara decided to assign a color to infinity. Blueness. You could have chosen any other color, but for some reason, and that is also something can be researched. Why blueness was done? Anything which is endless is blue. Water of the ocean, blueness of the sky. But the blueness of the sky is not permanent. In fact, right now it is not blue. We have the sky right around, we are in the sky, but we don't see the blueness. At night time, the blueness is not there. In the sleep, the blueness disappears. In the dream, God knows what color it is. We have no idea. So the blueness is not permanent. So therefore, pratyaksha, if Ishvara were to be seen by me, it would suffer all the disadvantages of being a pratyaksha. Cannot do that. Very interesting. So that means, can you say that Ishvara is not there? It's perennially not there. Imagine, nobody's ever seen Ishvara and so on and so forth. No, you cannot find it, nobody can find it. We have been looking for Ishvara, we've had so many religions that convince us, yes, we have seen Ishvara, please come to us, please give us some money first. That's important, we need some money, but after that we'll tell you where Ishvara is. No, this is very important, guys. There's only 3 places where jnanam can be. Only 3 places. Pratyaksha, Paroksha, and Aparoksha. It cannot be Pratyaksha. You don't want it to be perennially Paroksha. The only place for Ishvara is to be Aparoksha. And the only Aparoksha Vastu there is you. There cannot be any difference between Ishvara and you is Brahma. Atma Gyan, Brahma. So the whole thing resolves to, my gosh, the whole thing resolves to you. So this is the IQ we are seeking. You see this? It's very simple. This is the whole thing is the aikyam between Jiva and Ishvara. Both Jiva and Ishvara should be understood to be aparoksha. They say in Hindi, khel khatam paisa hajam. Done. But we still have a few more classes, so we might as well go on. What to do? Actually, if my voice breaks down, I think we have completed the course. This gives you an introduction to the topic of the types of knowledge. Number 11, Pratyaksha, Paroksha, and Aparoksha. We will leave it at that. I think we have captured the essence of it. Let's go to the next topic, which is sentience and insentience. Chetana and Jada. So here, I'm happy that we have already introduced Vyavaharika Sat and Paramarthika Sat. Pratibhasika Sat is, let's say, it's part of the Vyavaharika Sat. So let's just do Vyavaharika Sat and Paramarthika Sat. In Vyavaharika Sat, the difference between lifelike, alive and inert is based on the presence of Sukshma Sharira. See, if an object, all objects have Sthula Sharira, but if an object also has Sukshma Sharira, it is called alive. If the object is not associated with Sukshma Sharira, it is called inert. This is the distinction, right? So this is what happens in our house also. You see something on the floor and you wonder whether this is an insect or is it just something that dropped on you, piece of food. And so you have to be close to it very gingerly because it might bite you. But you go a little close to it and perhaps with a stick or something, you find, no, this is just a piece of food. So you're okay. If it moves, that means that you have to deal with it. I don't know if you ever dealt with this or not, but my God, what a house is full of people. The whole world attacks it. Oh my God, spiders, this, that or the other, all over crawling. Such clever things, you just leave them overnight and it somehow makes it. Anyway, it's just full of that. So in the Vyavaharika Sat, the distinction between Jada and Chetana is what? Sukshma. If the object is, and both objects are necessary in the creation. Swami Dayananda used to say that Ishvara must have considered, shall we make everybody having a Sukshma Sharira? He says, no, life will be very difficult. If the chair also has Sukshma Sharira, I'm sitting on it, he says, you put in a lot of weight, haven't you? Get off me. And I put my hand on the table and says, only for 2 minutes. Life will not function. So it is nice to have a combination of Jada and Chetana. Same thing happens in your dream. In your dream, you actually mimic the Ishvara's creation. You borrow it, you copy it, and you make a mixture of Jada and Chetana. So anyway, to close off this topic, in the Vyavaharika Sat, the distinction between Jada and Chetana is based on the presence of Sukshma Sharira. In Paramarthika Sat, this rule does not apply. It's a different rule. What is the rule in the Paramarthika Sat? The Paramarthika Sat. Paramarthika Sat means from the standpoint of the Paramarthika Sat. So the Vyavaharika Sat is really kind of like make-believe. The whole life is kind of like a play. It's a make-believe. You set certain rules and you play by those rules. And those rules can be set by human beings. Part of them is set by the Ishvara, like the water boiling at 400 degrees is not a human law. But other laws are human laws, and it's a make-believe. So this Paramarthika Sat is kind of like a play. You make kind of like a storyline and you play that. Paramarthika Sat, in the Vyavaharika Sat. In Paramarthika Sat, you have to, there is an appearance of play, but eventually you have to go to the real truth. And we need to understand the distinction between Chaitana and Jada viewed from that standpoint also. So let's look into that. In Paramarthika Sat, the distinction between Chaitana and Jada is as follows. If you have an entity which can see independently, it can see everything else as well as itself independently, it is considered to be Chaitanya. And if it cannot, it is Jada. Okay? So this is the more pure form of the distinction between Chaitanya and Jada. That if something is independent, has complete ability to see, seeingness is the very nature of which is called Chaitanya. And in that sense, you can see the example that we took yesterday between electricity and appliances. In that sense, because the electricity has the ability to make things powerful, full of power. It's independent. Whereas the appliance uses the electricity in a very specific way, and furthermore, it is independent of the electricity. It is dependent on the electricity. Electricity is independent. So if the same analogy that we are talking about from a Paramarthika standpoint is done, then the electricity in appliance is a good example, in the sense that an appliance is a dependent object that can do only a few things assigned to it. Electricity, on the other hand, can not only help light up this room, but light up all rooms in the world. It can heat up everything. It can make air conditioning in millions of places, independently. Things break down if electricity is not there, as it happened in Spain and Portugal recently. So things break down, but the electricity, so everything depends on the electricity, but the electricity is not dependent on the appliances. So that same analogy should be applied to from a Paramarthika standpoint. So the Chaitanya Vastu is not one that has a Sukshma Sharira. That's not it. It means it has an independent ability to see. Whereas our eyes have the ability to see, but dependent. So therefore, from the Paramarthika standpoint, the human being, the eyes, the mind is Jada, not Chaitanya. You see this? You see this? This is important to see. From a Vyavaharika standpoint, a human being is Chaitanya. But from a Paramarthika standpoint, it is Jada. And by the way, this distinction, this Viveka, is one of the highest forms of Viveka that we will come to later. Hopefully we will finish this week. And that is the distinction between I as a Sakshi and I as a Jiva. Because I as a Jiva appears to be Chaitanya. Sufficient. I don't need anything else. I'm better than others. I'm better than bugs and so on and so forth. Table. Anyway, so I'm secure. What I don't realize is I'm also an appliance, dependent on the electricity of the Atma. So this is a good masala to know. The distinction between Chaitanyam and Jada is a very important way to understand. Anyway, so we'll leave it at that. This is number 12.
So you're saying that G is the Jada.
No.
In Paramarthika.
Paramarthika means from a real standpoint is what Paramarthika is.
So something that can be proven.
In reality, you are a Jada. You appear to be an appliance. You are not electricity. You are electricity, but you appear to be an appliance to be yourself. Okay, Raju, straight away question, sure.
Now or in the evening?
Evening will be better. But don't ask it.
I'll ask it. This one I'll ask.
Okay. Alright, so this is number 12. Let's go to the next one. Which is limited versus unlimited. Parichinna and aparichinna. So this is a complex topic and will require a lot of time. So I think what I will do is simply define what this is and what the Vedantic view is, and then move on and revisit it later. So from the standpoint of the Vedic knowledge, just see this. You can even write it down and just record it to be understood later. All parichinnatvam is mithya. And aparichinnatvam alone is satya. So if you were to just kind of look at a specific example, this has so much material to talk about, but very advanced. It has to come later somewhere. So what happens is that take the analogy of what we were doing in the meditation also, of a body of water. So in the body of water, any kind of disturbance is mithya. And the water itself is satyam in that example. Satyam in the sense that it is enduring, it lasts. Whether the waves come or not, they come, it's okay. If they don't come, that's okay. So the water is independent of the waves. So in that example, water is aparichinna, unlimited, whereas the wave is parichinna. So in that example, the parichinnatvam is mithya, because you have to assign some kind of a technical name to it if you want to. Or you can call it waves, etc. So in that example, waves are mithya, whereas water is satyam. Now this way of looking at parichinnatvam and aparichinnatvam is also true for the whole universe. Not just in the example of the water and the waves. So what it says is, the whole cosmos, in fact what the reality is, that the whole cosmos is just Chidakasha, huge ocean of consciousness. Huge. And there is nothing other than, and this is called Brahma. The word Brahma is very important. So Brahma means big. Big. And big as a noun, not as an adjective. This is a very beautiful thing. So as an adjective, the word big depends on some other vastu. Like you could say, it's a big rat. Big rat means what? It cannot be this big. That means that normally rats are about 9 inches, this one is like 12 inches. So that means, my God, I saw a big rat. And you say, the mountain here is very small. So the bigness is really an adjective. Brahma is not an adjective. It's a vastu. Means big. It's a noun itself. This big Brahma is aparichinna. Is aparichinna. Parichinna means there is no time, no space, no vastu. Time is also parichinna. That means it is mithya. Space is also parichinna. Everything else is parichinna. You and I and concepts and so on, parichinna. There's only one thing which is aparichinna. That is the sort of like the Chidakasha in the analogy of the water. So in the view of Vedanta, everything is Brahman. This needs to be understood. This is what finally releases us. And so you are also not Jiva. You are really Brahma. Your Parichinnatvam also is Mithya. Jiva is an appliance. And so as an appliance, it is just a part of the whole thing. In fact, it is the whole. You are not even an appliance, you are the basic electricity. You are not a wave, you are the very ocean, as we saw in the meditation. So there is only one thing which is Brahman. Everything else is just a thought process. It's an assumption that I'm small. It's part of the play that I'm small and I'm working and I'm getting better and I'm still not there. All those kinds of plays is what the Parichinnatvam is all about. So, in summary, there is no such thing as a Parichinnatvam in the whole. There is no such thing as Parichinnatvam in the whole cosmos. There is only a Parichinnat. I told you this is very heavy stuff. We'll have to come back to it and understand it more. Okay, so we're done with number 13. We are on the second class already of the day. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So today is what, Wednesday? So we finish. I think I definitely try to finish all 41 by the end of today. And possibly even start on the main topic of Atma Vichara today itself. If not, then we will start it tomorrow. So we have one Thursday, Friday, and two classes of Saturday. So, okay. Om Asato Ma Samaya Tamaso Ma Jyoti Gamaya Mrityo Ma Amritam Gamaya Om Purnamata Purnamidam Purnat Purnamidachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Guru Namah Hari